My saying in the first year and a half of the business was, we're going to grow this business one handshake at a time. Most entrepreneurs understand there's no such thing as an overnight success, right? You see the 10-year journey that was an overnight success, right? And yeah, we're going to keep plugging away. I'm not stopping, despite how emotional roller coastery it can be at times. For any of your listeners, there is opportunity to differentiate yourself, to lean into people that, are in your demographic, in your particular lot in life.
Hey, Charles, I'm super excited to have you join me for this episode of Coffee with Closers.
Sam, it's great to be here. I love how we got connected and certainly love your channel. And I want to be a closer, man. It's great to be here.
There you go. Our mutual friend James Berry introduced us. You guys are both in very unique industries, right? Like he's making something completely unique in the ingredient space for food and preparation, and you have in the cosmetic space in skincare. So every entrepreneur has some unique story of how they became entrepreneurs, overcoming obstacles to become an entrepreneur. And you certainly have some unique stories there. Started in the corporate world and went on to doing regenerative farming. And then now you're actually in the skincare product business. So can you share with our audience a little bit about that journey, how you became an entrepreneur and how you ended up starting this?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I would say I would take it all the way back to my childhood. I was very fortunate enough. I had a stay-at-home mom whose kitchen I spent quite a bit of time in. And then when my dad was home, he had a workshop. So he was a novice. He calls himself a novice. I think he's quite talented as a woodworker. And so I've been playing with my hands, just building and making things for a long time. And Faro is really an amalgam of, I would say, 3 different career paths that I have taken. One was in health and wellness. My ex-wife and I opened and ran a gym for a number of years, and that actually catapulted us into the cookbook space. And so have a number of cookbooks that we co-authored together. And then so it was the cooking background has always been a passion of mine, and then health and fitness, health and wellness. And then just got really taken by the regenerative farming, agricultural movement. This would have been maybe 2012, 13, 14, just due to my closeness through this paleo diet. That was the diet we were writing cookbooks about. And getting closer to food gets you closer to the source of the food, which gets you pretty excited about where it comes from. And so had the opportunity, I want to say it was 2014, to visit Polyface Farms. If you don't know who Joel Salatin and Polyface Farms is, what it is, he was the farmer featured in Michael Pollan's book, The Omnivore's Dilemma, which is I think it's maybe a 15, 20-year-old book at this point. And it was that got me really interested in farming, regenerative farming. And so started a small farm in 2016, raising meat. I guess there's different things you can farm, but we farmed meat, beef, pork, chicken, eggs, did a batch of turkeys every Thanksgiving. And then fast forward to, it was 2019. I've been in this health and wellness space for a while. I love tinkering in the kitchen. And I had what I consider to be one of the more common acute skincare conditions. I got a really bad sunburn. And for whatever reason, I tell this story a lot. So I think it was maybe half desperation, half curiosity. I had a jar of lard, which is, for your listeners that don't know, is pig fat. I had a jar of lard in my refrigerator that I used to fry and bake and cook with. And come home, absolutely barbecued from a sunburn. And half curiosity, half desperation, just decided to cover my skin in the stuff. And lo and behold, it was remarkable. My skin literally consumed it. I looked like a greased pig, forgive the pun. And 5 or 10 minutes after putting it on, it was gone. It was no residual oiliness. And so I did that the evening I got home. The next morning I put it on again, and that was it. It was 3 or 4 days later that the sunburn was gone. But Sam, it was, and you know this, it's business. When you have a change or you've experienced improvements, then when something happens, you listen. And so when my sunburn went away, I was like, that's really neat. And I watched my skin like a hawk for about 4 weeks because I knew at some point, inevitably, I was going to peel. And when that never happened, that was the light bulb moment. And there's a great book by David Epstein called Range. Are you familiar with that book?
No, I'm not.
Fascinating book. It just talks about it. If I could summarize it, it's the full quote. The jack of all trades, what is it? Is not a master of one, but hold on. I'm a jack of all trades, not a master of one, but the jack of all trades beats a master of one sort of thing. And Epstein's book, it dives into it. In fact, I read his book when I first hypothesized, if you will, dreamed about this business, because I had imposter syndrome. Like, what am I doing in skincare? There's no reason to be there. When you take health and wellness, when you take a joy of making things and cooking in the kitchen, and then you have this remarkable situation, light bulb moment. And, what happened, Sam, was I took this lens I had honed during my paleo cookbook days. You've heard the phrase, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Real food, what you're eating should be the ingredient kind of stuff. And I'd really never taken that lens and shined it anywhere else. And when I shined it on skincare, my goodness, like the chemicals they let in it, the ingredients that they use just didn't intuitively, I felt like, align with human biology. And again, I'm not a chemist, esthetician, dermatologist. I'm none of those classically trained, but also I wasn't a nutritionist. And I had 10 years of watching people make hallmark changes in their health by just adopting real simple strategies. And I took that lens and took that methodology and brought it over to skincare. And here we are. We handcraft our products, and quite frankly, we're still making them in a kitchen, very small, handcrafted, made to order kind of stuff. But yeah, that's how I got here. It's a gelling, if you will, of a commitment to the ecology and the environment. Our products don't exist without raising healthy, happy animals. We unpack that more. A commitment to health and human thriving. Let's get the toxins out. Let's get the chemicals out. And then finally, just a joy, whether it was the cookbooks or this product or even farming, of creating value for consumers. I've always enjoyed seeing other people smile and get healthier or just feel better due to something I can take some credit for.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Especially every story I've heard of entrepreneurs, they were scratching their own itch, and then somehow they found a business idea in it. Do you think it's just entrepreneurial spirit is just innate in all of us, and it's just some people actually just pursue that, whereas some people just, okay, that's just an idea, I'm not going to chase it? Because it seems like it was very simple. You just did an experiment. You had some animal fat in your fridge. You decided to put it on your skin. You noticed instead of peeling off, your skin just absorbed that fat, and then your sunburn just disappeared after 3 days. And there's something to this. I got to build a business around this because there's healing in this fat, and I got to commercialize it.
Yeah, I want to say that spirit is in many of us. Not all. No, not. There's almost nothing you can say about the human condition that applies to all humans, other than death and taxes per se. But I want to say that it's in many of us. I think there are other factors, and there are certainly factors that contributed to my ability to launch this company. Job, family, location. There's so many things. Look at the numbers. What is it? 80% of businesses are out of business inside of 5 years. I'm still learning. I'm still learning plenty of lessons, but I do want to encourage your listeners that aren't entrepreneurial or don't think they are, that they've got it in them. There are risks to take. This is still a, forgive the term, side hustle for me. I still have a day job. And before we hit record, we're talking about some of the stuff we've got coming down the pipe with Faro. But one of the coolest aspects about the shared economy we live in today and the technology that's at our fingertips is I do believe consumers are hungry for great stories. Any brand, any product is at its core is a story. And so even if it's a side hustle, I'm going to encourage people to get out there and follow their dreams, even if it's Saturday and Sunday or 2 hours every evening after you come home from work.
Yeah, I think we're also, like you said, the shared economy, and we're also living at a time where it's not the wallet size that determines your destiny. It's the brain size, right? If you can think creative ways to promote your product, reach your customers, get your word out, you can reach a lot more customers, and people are more likely to support a small business, someone who's got it's their dream, it's their passion, it's their story attached to that company, than a big giant brand, right? Like you said, all these big cosmetic brands and everything else, they got so many chemicals that you can't read in stuff that you put on your skin. But if you are saying, hey, I got this product and it's very natural and it's fewer ingredients and you can read what they are, and if you use it, results, because I used it myself and it's my story. And I think more people want to attach to that story and support that entrepreneur dream than just go to Walmart or Target and pick it up. And I feel like that every time I travel, I try to find local coffee shops to go try and support that local economy than just go to the big stores, because they're every corner. But I actually want to go find that barista who owns his own store and support that guy, because I feel like I need to do that, and I encourage them too. I think that same thing is true for any sort of product or business these days. Would you agree?
I just gave a talk to the business class at our local college, and one of the things I said is I don't believe there's any such thing as a saturated market, period. Now, that you can have captured markets, you can have, there's a lot of different characteristics to a market, but for years, this has certainly been the case in America, the consumer has been, I don't know, psyoped or convinced that it was all about price. And now you've got your luxury shoppers, but general consumer, it's like driven price. We see the same thing in food. It's like calories, not nutrition, and skincare is no different. And so I would say any marketplace, any niche, there's no such thing as saturated, because if you can bring a quality product to market, and I don't think there's ever been a better time, pick the industry to bring a quality product. That is our origin story. I had something, it worked for me. I spent a year making batches of this stuff. I bought some jars and was sending it to friends of mine. Is this good? I think it's good. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think you can reach so many more people. I would encourage people. We went technology last. We started off with handshakes, talking to people, whether it be conferences or sending personal notes. And I leaned into my friend group out of the gate to give me the confidence that, yeah, this actually is really good. And so once we did that, it was less tech and more handshakes. My saying in the first year and a half of the business was, we're going to grow this business one handshake at a time. And I think it's a common, most entrepreneurs understand there's no such thing as an overnight success, right? Mm-hmm. See the 10-year journey that was an overnight success, right? And we're going to keep plugging away. I'm not stopping, despite how emotional roller coastery it can be at times. But yeah, I would, for any of your listeners, there's opportunity to differentiate yourself, to lean into people that, are in your demographic or are in your particular lot in life, whether it be age, sex, location, hobbies. There's plenty of people out there that get you, that get me, or at least the place I'm in. And so to be able to tell that story and have a product around that story. And from there, it's just don't give up.
Yeah. Yeah. What you're describing is like to build a business, right? There's obviously there's an idea, like you said, many of us have those ideas and vision, but not too many of us actually take actions on it. But it's one thing to just have the product idea, you build a product. You're also, like you said, like knocking on doors, sending samples to your friends, see what other people think, doing your own market research on a small scale, get some validation on the idea. Then you said, okay, this is now commercialized. I can actually start now posting on social, get some people to recognize it. Even now, you're still small batch production, doing it in your own kitchen and doing it at smaller scale because you want to get enough customers to want to buy and buy so consistently. Then you can actually go do even bigger, right?
Yep.
So what you're describing is that the building process. And sometimes I don't think you can skip some of these steps. Sometimes you can speed up the process a little bit if you have the right team structure and maybe the cash and all those things. You can probably speed up some of these processes. But what you're describing, at the end of the day, what you said is the most ingredient. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to work really hard at it. I know it's not easy, but you're just going to have to chase that dream and pursue it, right? 100%.
Yeah, I've seen some businesses fail because they did grow too fast. They chased. I'm hesitant to say don't chase the dollar, but at the core, we all got to make money. I understand that. But the core of, I think, any successful business, first and foremost, is the customer, right? I think improving the lives of the customer, you can certainly command all the money you want for that, but that money being your primary motivator, I think it can be, right? That's not a bad thing. But yeah, I've seen some businesses. I had someone, I think I told you we're in the process of figuring out how to expand. And so I've got some very dear business savvy friends that I lean into frequently. They're very generous with their time. And one of them told me, man, I don't know if you raise this much money, I think it might kill your business. So that opened up a whole nother thought process of, are we ready to make this next jump? We're closing in on, from a business growth standpoint, we're starting to bump up against our current infrastructure and taking into consideration, what are we going to capitalize when it comes to equipment? What are we going to add to our monthly expense nut through rent or whatever the case may be? And so it's fun to go through that process and also have trusted friends that have been through it to help you, just guide you, give you thought. Again, that it blew my mind when he said that raising that much money might kill your business. Oh my gosh, let me think about that. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure you're probably talking to James Berry as well, but he talked about like he's using contract manufacturing to produce, because his packaging is amazing. His design is wonderful. His product looked like a massive company when you look at his business website and his packaging. But he said, no, we're a lean, mean operation. We have infrastructure figured out from a fulfillment standpoint, because he said he had a couple of different businesses where he was doing all the work and he just was nearly killing himself trying to do that. He went about it a completely different way the third time around, he said. I'm curious too, as an entrepreneur, you have the visionary, the product design, the product development guy, the sales guy, and also the marketer, and your own podcast, doing all these interviews. There's so much going on, right? Like, how are you prioritizing your time to make sure that you're putting your energy into the most important and most high leveraged activities as opposed to just spreading yourself too thin?
Sure. I would say my number one struggle, going all the way back through my professional careers, my number one struggle has always been delegation. I do have some team members, albeit virtual, that they manage my head more than anything. Like they're helping keep me between the lines in the road. I have started leaning into, I've got a virtual assistant that we've added to the mix in the last 6 months. She's been outstanding. Just to be able to take a thing and just hand it is challenging. I know you know this. Most folks understand how challenging that can be. But I've also invested. I've got a couple of young people in my community that I've known for a while that are getting into college, have some free time, looking for some free money, or not free money, just experience and to make some side money. So I have been building, albeit slowly, a team, hands-on team. Fulfillment and manufacturing are our two biggest my two biggest time sucks. And so outside of the travel and the podcasting and things like that, that's where my time is. And so I have a very small team in place, albeit very part-time. I'm fortunate in that regard. I've found some people that this can be a side hustle for them as well. But yeah, that we're starting to bring on, and James has been fantastic to talk to. He's my brother from another mother, man. We're about the same age. We've learned all this in the last year, and he does have a wealth of experience. One of the things we're going to jump into in the coming 12 months is the outsourcing for certain products, outsourcing of manufacturing. Probably at some point jump into complete third-party fulfillment as we grow. We're looking to get into B2B side of the house versus just direct to consumer. And so these are all decisions that are going to require people other than me. And I've had an executive coach now for almost a year, John, 8 months. And we've had a blast because his whole ethos is team building, and the team's been sort of me. And so it's been a lot of fun preparing for making sure that we've got the SOPs in place, and me making sure I document this is how I do this and this, so I can just, hand the reins to someone. I'm coming to you today from out of town. I've been out of town all day. I'll go out of town to Atlanta for work for the next 4 days, but my local gal is going to make sure that the place doesn't burn to the ground while I'm gone. And that's going to be the critical piece, is just how we bring team members on in the midst of we've had the best month we've ever had in the last month. And so it was great because we pressure tested a lot of our systems. Great. Okay. So now the next question is, what happens if this month doubles? Where's the fire going to start? And so trying to get ahead of that's been really valuable.
So like you said, you've been very careful with your resources, and you're very conservative in how you're allocating your resources, right? Your time, talent, and treasures. But you found some creative ways to reach your customers much more efficiently, right? Because if you think about any sort of product offering, right, education is an important part of that purchase journey. Customers have to know what the product is, why that's superior to some alternative options, and then why your product is the best choice for them, right? And doing that educational part on the marketing front is very expensive, especially as a product company that's trying to go after multi-billion-dollar industries that are much more established. But you've been able to find some creative ways to reach your customers and compel them to take the action of buying your product and giving it a try. So can you give us some ideas of the things that you've been able to do that help you reach a wider audience faster from a marketing front?
Sure. My executive coach calls it my talent stack. And so I like to tell stories. We have and again, I think this flows over to many products and also services. We have a high education product. Super high quality.
Even the name lard is not a common word that everybody uses.
That's one of the most frustrating parts about this is rewind the clock 100 years. And everyone knew what lard was. So we have a couple things.
Not to interrupt, but James also said pluck, which was a thing that I didn't know was an actual term for putting seasoning on top of your food. So he's Mm-hmm.
and sending samples. Hey, I'd love for you to try this if you want to talk about affiliating, or if you just want to. A lot of smaller influencers, would be rising influencer, willing to do a reel or something small, 2-minute, 10-minute investment of their time for swapping for the product.
Mm-hmm.
Try my product. And so that was a lot of our early efforts. And again, now we're in the process now of starting to A/B test some stuff on social media. Again, we haven't done any paid ads yet, and I know that's a necessary evil at some point, is you got to get in that game. And so we're getting ready to do that, getting ready so that we understand what looks and feels and performs well to the audience, to the consumer, so that when the time comes and we do deploy assets in that regard, we get the biggest bang for our buck.
And you said, especially with the education aspect of the product, you being on podcasts, like you said, podcasts that might be tailored to women or health or wellness or fitness, that you're able to explain the product and the benefits. And then that has given you customers trust and that driven sales. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you've tailored the story about the product into some of your conversation and how that's been able to drive sales?
In terms of tailoring the story, just telling the story, I think the average consumer is starved for consumer purpose. You hear it all the time, vote with your dollars. And I think most consumers don't truly realize how powerful they are. And so one of the ways you demonstrate to them is you tell your story and the impact it's having on other people. And then, and again, technology is fantastic. We've got a whole client journey. Someone buys our product or joins our email list, that we're dragging them through the mud with us, right? Mm-hmm. I think the most successful angle that we've had is committing to integrity and committing to talking about putting them at the top of the conversation. It's not about our product, okay? It's about their health. And again, I think that transcends almost any consumer product, any purchase you want to make. We want that thing, service or good, to take the end user and push them up the hill. It's about improving their lives, okay? And so we really in terms of our messaging, I've made two things in the messaging. I've made three things the ultimate winner because of our business. Obviously, the consumer, they're a winner. The environment, okay? So at the foundation of our company and our products is responsible, high integrity animal welfare, which is great for the ecology as well. And so consumer, ecology, and then just not being afraid to talk about the industry and the toxicity, just laying it all out there. I did explore. And I think, again, this is fun for any entrepreneur. I'm not an esthetician. I'm not a dermatologist. I didn't study chemistry. And so I've got I've had and continue to have a very childlike curiosity. So I didn't come into skincare with any preconceived notions other than, let me go explore. I think that puts me in the shoes of a lot of consumers, because they don't read the labels. They watch an ad. They watch some Hollywood starlet putting stuff on their face, but everyone's surface level. And so I think that to whatever degree you can concisely bring a consumer along on your early journey and the motivations that really drove you to launch the company. For me, it's my daughter and my son. I have two young kids. We talked about our kids. And once I figured out how toxic skincare was, I thought, okay, the son's going to do some stuff, but girls are just marketed to the same way the cigarette companies marketed candied cigarettes to kids. The skincare companies are targeting younger and younger girls, right? Mm-hmm. And so, this kind of gets personal now. There's a lot of misinformation in the world about farming. And so to be able to, I could consider these podcasts a public setting, and it lives on the internet forever. So someone else can find it. It's easy for someone else to share it. So to be able to, forgive the pun here, but sacrifice those sacred cows on the altar of a podcast with clarity and with some education in the world, but also humility. Like, I don't know everything. I think the consumer, this has been my experience, I think the consumer longs to be plugged back into their intuition. And we're so distracted. I forget what the numbers are on the average attention span of us today, just with these devices and all. And where do you go that there's not a screen or something playing, or there's just silence is golden. I used to love that movie opener. Any movie you go see, silence is golden. And so I think again, for the consumer, I think what gets caught up in that distraction is we lose our intuition, because we just don't have time to just slow down for just a second and think about something. And so that's been the biggest joy for me, is staying committed to intuition and talking the customer through, here's how intuitive this is. The best trope I have, again, I'm in skincare. People are like, you want me to put what on my face? And I'm like, lard. And they're like, but you want to put lard on my face? And I'm like, do you know what you put on your face now? Have you ever stopped to read those ingredients? And the most fun part about this journey, Sam, has been the new angles and rabbit holes to go down. I'll tell you a funny one. I had no idea getting into this just how valuable pigs are in modern medicine. Now, I had some idea, but I love this one now. It's like pig heart valves. Like we harvest over 20 hormones from pigs for human use, like EpiPens. That epinephrine came from pigs. And so being able to reconnect the consumer to this intuitive thinking process. We wouldn't be here were we not the most intuitive, industrious creatures on the planet. And at that carnal level of human thriving, I think any business, find a way to plug into that ancestral human intuition. I think it will serve you well.
Yeah, I did not know epinephrine was actually from pigs. That's
Oh, yeah.
that's news to me. But you mentioned earlier that there's a lot of misconception around regenerative farming as well, because like you said, even just the fact that you said ingredients in our cosmetic products, our skin products, I think I don't know if it was in our prior conversation, you mentioned petroleum or byproducts of petroleum is like the number one ingredient. It's the cheapest fat that they can use in cosmetic products, but it's not actually helping our skin. It's actually just messing with our skin. And there's a lot of misconception around the product ingredients, also around farming in general. Maybe can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, we got to unpack two things there. I'll just say 90, we'll just say it. 95% of the fats, skincare is a fat-based industry, has been forever. Now, most time it's an emulsification of a fat and water together, but skincare is a fat-based industry. And 95% of the ingredients used in skincare today had never touched human skin 100 years ago, whether it be a petroleum derivative or today we've got the ability to extract all these various seed oils and plant-based oils. Olive oil is a great one. Olive oil has been a part of skincare. Read any of the old Egyptian texts. They were fascinated with healthy, glowing skin. They used a lot of milk products for their skin as well, but olive oil, anointing people with olive oil, it's plant-based oils have been a part of skincare for a long time. But more importantly, skincare historically, and I love this sort of angle, skincare has always exclusively been an industry for the wealthy, like hyper wealthy. And the reason being is because the more wealth you accumulated, think 1,000 years ago or even 200 years ago, the more wealth you accumulated, the more money you had to pay someone else to do your hunting, your butchering, and your cooking. Those are three human acts where you are viscerally connected to and covered in animal fat. And rewind the clock 150 years, like we hear the 1%. 1% maybe of the population on the planet was not in constant contact with animal fat on a daily basis. Okay, so that's the historical piece there. And again, all the chemicals and preservatives, emulsifiers, none of that stuff has touched human skin prior to 100 years ago. And I would even say 50 years ago.
Wow.
All right, so that's one piece of it. So regenerative farming, I have a definition for this. There's a bunch of, it's quickly becoming a diluted term that's a catch-all. It's a marketing term now, but at its core, regenerative farming, in my opinion, is the art and act of building soil. Okay? And if you look at any healthy ecosystem on the planet today and historically, the soil health was driven by animals. It was herding herbivores. Now, pigs are an omnivore. We'll get to their role in this momentarily, but traditionally, the wildebeest on the Serengeti, the bison in the Great Plains of the United States of America, our Corn Belt today. Those soils were built over millennia of herding herbivores, eating, pooping and pee, sending organic matter out the backside, right? And then migratory birds coming in and cleaning up. Okay. And so if you look at those deep, organically rich soils, that's how they were built. Okay. And so when I say regenerative farming builds soil, in order to build soil, you have to incorporate animal husbandry. And the closer you get to mimicking nature or natural systems in doing so, then the faster and more environmentally friendly you can build soil. We're not talking about any chemicals. We're not talking about any pesticides, any herbicides, any of that. We let the animals do the work. And so pigs, here's another aspect of a healthy ecology. It's a multi-speciated ecology. Look at any healthy environment. You've got a variety of plants, a variety of animals. You've got predators and prey, and you've got crop plants, and you've got fall plants and spring plants. You've got this cornucopia of variety. And if you look around I don't care if it's the plant and crop industrial system or the animal industrial food system in this country, what you have is a monolith. You have this silo of beef production or corn production or soy production. And nature does not like that. And the pig, if you think about the cogs in a wheel, an old wagon wheel, you got all these cogs in it. And so the pig is a cog, the chicken is a cog, beef is a cog, wild animals and their presence on the land, the migratory birds and their presence in the ecology, just to perpetuate this natural system. And the beauty of the technology that we have at our fingertips today, and I love talking about this, is we can actually raise a healthier, happier animal, and we can build soil faster than nature because of the technology we have at our disposal. These are back to an earlier question you had for me, Sam. These are the questions I love talking about because it pulls the consumer into, oh my goodness, buying this product not only helps my skin, it also helps the planet, helps this, or whatever the case may be. And I think more and more consumers are gravitating to that. They want their cake and they want it to eat it. And I think most humans intuitively want to make a difference, a positive difference in the world. And to be able to match that with the use of certainly a consumable product like skincare is a win-win.
Yeah, I think what you're describing, it's the way that God intended the nature to actually operate, right? Like different type of species all working together in the same ecological environment, and then they're reproducing and all kinds of stuff, right? And then the plants are, when they wither and die, and then they're actually adding organic component to the ground, and then it just become more fertile, and then you just have natural. But whereas what you described, where the chicken farmers, they just have millions of chickens all in one place, and it's like a factory, right? And then because of that, I think we're all living the consequences of eating those sort of like hyper manufactured product that we're eating, whether that's going to our skin or going into our bodies. Certainly not helping us in any way, because we're all, in the last 50 years, been in an experiment of all these farmers and pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, let me add something too. Again, back to your listeners and starting a company or telling your story. And I can tell you this, I find myself saying this about food a lot. The skincare industry and the food industry look a lot alike. Now, those are the only two places where I've hung out a lot. I'm guessing if you're getting into banking or if you're getting into some type of craft product or whatever, again, some of these things transcend the industry. In other words, cheaper, less, call it nutrient dense. I'm sure there's a keyword term in a non-food or cosmetic industry that you could come up with, but we've stripped away the nutrients. We've stripped away the quality, and we've externalized all the downsides to that, and we've externalized them to the consumer. And so, yeah, being able to fold all of that into your story. Again, we're a story brand. It's why I chose podcasts and long form discussions to market our product. Now, you can hit exit velocity, so to speak, in business once you've gained enough public regard, if you will, public acclaim. But man, early on, being able to tell that story, I think, and talk about endearing a customer. It's, what are your metrics, right? You got customer acquisition costs and you got customer lifetime value. And that customer lifetime value is a big number, right? When you start talking about multiples and when you start talking about fundraising and all those fun things, it's a very important metric, certainly in consumer brands, right? And the more you can emotionally bring and draw someone in and connect them to this. Here, I'm a skincare company talking about the incredible role that pigs play in building a healthy ecology. They also taste delicious, and who doesn't like bacon and all. You can have fun jokes about it all. But at the core, I believe an educated consumer or a curious consumer. That's actually a better term. I don't need an educated consumer. I need a curious consumer. And so if you find somebody curious and you can tell a story, man, they will jump on. And again, if you have a quality product and are willing to give it away early, we shipped thousands of samples, give it away early and then discount it early and then get them hooked. If it's a good product, they're going to want it again. And so that's,
yeah. And I think, like you said, your approach of educating the customer about not just your product, but the entire ecosystem that actually creates this product. I think that's very important, even for us, me as a family, for our family as well. We've been on a journey of learning a little bit more about functional medicine, with our kids having a lot of different allergies and skin issues, right? So we're also experimenting with a lot of different things. So I know this is a common problem across the globe. It's not just something just unique to some people, right? And like I said, people are more educated and curious these days of what kind of food are they consuming, what kind of products are they putting on their skins, because they're all concerned about what all these everything they hear, right? Everything you hear is about some sort of a cancer. It scares the heck out of most people. of where's the root cause and why there's such a influx of some of these diseases in the recent years. Like you said, 50 to 100 years ago, some of these ingredients were never in our products, and it became more prevalent in our food and our skincare products in the last 50 plus years. And then there's all the other stuff that we're hearing about, right? Everything seems to be like, why we hear more about cancers and all kinds of other illnesses more and more each day. And we have to be wondering why.
Yeah, and to bring it back to food, we just in this last week we had a high quality, high integrity brand, Siete, that got acquired by PepsiCo for like $1.2 billion. And of course, everybody takes to social media and they're like, "This is a tragedy. This high quality brand's been bought by PepsiCo." And I'm staring here looking around, going, "What are you talking about? This is a huge win." And again, bring it back to your small business. We live in an economy now where, let's use Siete. I'll use two examples. Siete, a new acquisition by the big food, okay? And then I'll tell you about Primal Kitchen. This is Mark Sisson's company that he built from the ground up, sold to General Mills for I forget how much money a number of years ago. But I can take this phone device. There's enough consumers now. I'm a Primal Kitchen fan. I buy his products. If me or any of the thousands of consumers that they built, if there's ever an ingredient on that product that is new that I don't like, I have the ability with my phone to tell the world now, don't buy this anymore. And we've seen plenty of brands that this has happened to. Burt's Bees is a good example. There's some soaps out there where the integrity just over time waned. But the real miracle here is these big, massive brands are starting to recognize that consumers are demanding quality. And I used to call it the Coca-Cola model. Coca-Cola hadn't developed a drink in, 30 years, 25, 30 years. They just let the startups, the inventors and the creatives, and then they just sit back and say, "Oh, okay, what are the consumers going to like?" And then they acquire it. And I think I think the market right now, and for the foreseeable future, again, I'm over here in consumer packaged goods. I think there's probably some relevance in the digital space and service space as well. Certainly in the service space, customer service has just gone the way of the dodo. I don't care if you're a bank or a cell phone company or anything. So I think the flight to quality, I think we're just on the front end of it, whether it's food ingredients, cosmetics, service-based. I've met 3 different landscaping guys in the last month, and they're all thriving. And these are young guys. They built a small, nimble team, and they do high-quality work. And they are so busy they can't keep up. And this is lawn care, or this is landscaping and moving dirt around, for crying out loud. And so if that's happening there, it's happening at every nook and cranny of the service-based industry. I'm very optimistic about just generally the market. Again, nothing's saturated if you have a high quality product that improves the lives of your customer. So
yeah, and like you said, I'm also seeing like some of those same people that you're describing, right? They're creating social content showing how their approach to maybe the landscaping, or I even seen guys that are woodworkers showing like their craft and how they go and restore an old kitchenette or something like that, right? Like showing how they do it. And then it's just an amazing experience to watch their craft. And then people are actually going back to them and say, "Hey, I got the same problem. I have a whatever, like my grandpa's 75-year-old dining room set is here. I want to restore it." Like people are doing that, right? Because you can have a very small operation, but you're doing a great service, but you can reach a wider audience through platforms that are able to tell stories through visuals and audio and everything else. So it's an amazing time to be an entrepreneur. I think if you just put your time and energy into the ideas that you might have.
I could not agree more. I think that the phrase is the reversion to the mean, right? So it's the pendulum, right? I think the pendulum has way overswung to cheap. It's way overswung to convenience. And look, it's not that those things aren't great. However, IKEA furniture, IKEA is great. And then you move. And I don't know of a piece of IKEA furniture that's ever survived a move, because it's designed to be built and stay right there. And so again, serves a purpose, but I think the pendulum is starting to swing back. We're reverting back to the mean of quality. And even again, back to the advantages of social media, it allows you to connect with a customer. Good Lord, we ship creams to the UK. I've shipped some to New Zealand because I go on these podcasts and it's just out in the internet everywhere. And so it's actually remarkable. Today is such a great time to be alive. I don't watch the news anymore. I've got some trusted sources. My Lord, keep your focus hyper local. And as we're talking, many prayers before we started recording, there's just tragedy over in the Appalachians right now. My heart goes out to those folks. But man, right here in my community, and for your listener as well, and you can grow a brand, you can grow a business right there in your community, and leverage the power of technology, leverage it to the best of your ability.
Most certainly. Charles, I learned a lot just from talking with you about farming and all these things about good ingredients and all of those things. And I appreciate you just opening my eyes, and hopefully our listeners do. appreciate it as well. Can you tell a little bit more about where they can learn more about the products and how they can probably buy some samples and test it for themselves?
Yeah. We don't have samples. Our products are really good, people. So if you want to buy some, I'll give you a discount code. Our website is Farrow, FARROW.life. And that's the only place you can buy our stuff. We're direct to consumer through the website. And if you use the coupon code COFFEE, then that'll save you 15%. I would say, Sam, our most popular product, we only have a handful of SKUs. If you got quality, you don't need necessarily quantity. I would say our most popular product is our skin food, and then it comes in scented and unscented, and people use it all over. But we've got a face food and a skin food, but I think the skin food is probably our most popular product if you're looking for one. And then at Farrow Skin is Twitter and Instagram. We're most active on Instagram, and it's not me.
Who came up with all these names? Even just
that's me.
Epidermis.
I do take credit for that. Yeah. If you want an epidermis, then you should use epidermis. Yeah. We built a company for puns, man. We've got a hat that says "Lard help us." I just trademarked, or it's been filed. The lard works in mysterious ways.
Yeah,
and that, I would. Skin food, face food. And again, I would interject one more thing. If you're not having fun with your business, oh man, you're wasting your time. There's plenty of hard days and long nights and all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to smile and laugh and have fun with it. I think that endears yourself to the customer as well.
Charles, I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your life lesson wisdom with my audience.
Thank you, Sam. It's been a real pleasure.
This episode of Coffee with Closers is brought to you by OneIMS, a leading digital marketing agency helping businesses win new customers. To request a free marketing ROI audit, please visit oneims.com. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. To make sure you never miss an episode, please subscribe.